Hi everyone, it's Chenzo from RealityArtPod here to rank the Big Brother 27 players based on how I feel they're doing in the game as of the end of Week 6's Thursday night eviction episode. Before I dive in, I put a link to my BB27 playlist for all my recaps and rankings. If you like the content, consider liking, subscribing, and using my link to try Paramount Plus for free. This week saw Rachel coming to power as HOH, nominating Mickey, Morgan, and Vince. This week we saw Rachel as HOH, with final nominees being Morgan and Riley was evicted by a vote of 5-4. So we lost Riley this week, who preseason I ranked 10th, and he worked his way up to being first last week. 2 weeks in a row where the person I felt was playing the best game went home. My credibility is waning, but I never had any credibility in the first place. Riley came into this week in an okay spot. Rachel wins HOH, and Rachel tells Riley and Catherine that they're safe, that she loves love and would never break up a showmance after being in one herself. So he's cruising through. And Rachel nominating Riley felt like it came out of nowhere. She didn't really target him on purpose, but she had to follow through on her threat to avoid looking like a punk. But he doesn't really try to campaign for votes throughout the week. He does have a few locked in, and the vote was as close as you can get. I don't think he's an awful player, but I'm happy he's gone. So let's get to these rankings. So many surprising things happened this week that rendered my takes last time aging poorly. But in 11th, last place, I have Kelly, who was 11th last week after she'd survived her first vote. HOH Rachel really tries to bring Kelly in closer, keeping her safe as a way to build a bridge. The only problem, Kelly doesn't want to work with Rachel. She's very anti-Rachel. But Rachel offers Kelly an alliance, and beggars can't be choosers. 2 weeks now, Ava and Rachel didn't nominate Kelly, and how does she repay them? She goes around annoyed with Rachel for nominating Riley instead of her. She wanted to be the replacement nominee. The show continues to not show her point of view on anything. She has a final two with Vince that only she thinks is real. On top of all of it, she votes against the people who have been keeping her safe and votes in the minority yet again. Wouldn't be surprised if she's nominated and even evicted this week. In 10th, I have Keanu, who last week was 12th. Rachel winning HOH, great for Keanu. For once, he's safe. No matter what he did, Rachel was never going to put him up, which gave him some space to play the game and build his bonds. But as usual, he doesn't. He continues his shtick, having terrible reads, getting corrected by Rachel all the time. I will say he's one of the funnier house guests, both intentionally and not, and his game being so bad has, I think, made the house guests a little bored of targeting him, but Rachel's finding other bonds, and Keanu continues to pursue his own ridiculous endeavors. He votes wrong yet again, and continues to be just bad at the game, though a little bit better than Kelly, because he actually does have at least one real alliance with Rachel. In 9th, I have Mickey, who was 6th last week. I had her so high because I felt she still had potential in the game, but Rachel winning HOH was such a disaster for her game that was already held together with bubblegum and tape. She plays this week so bad, starting with continuing to campaign against Rachel and talk smack about her after she won HOH. The one positive is I felt her campaign to Rachel before nominations was a bit impressive in her ability to confidently sell the narrative that she wants to put forward, and the delusional confidence that she has is something I do wish I had myself. She'll say what's on her mind, asking Lauren to throw the veto mid-competition, assuming she was staying through the entirety of the week, even though she was the house target, and the episode showed how messy she's been. She wins the blockbuster, which she really needed, as she was going home, so I have her so low because she was almost going home, but since she didn't know she was going home and was still acting so close to her friends, it may end up bringing them back to being allies. In 8th, I have Catherine, who last week was 8th. Catherine came into this week on the up and up, but there were players saying they didn't want her in the jury. When Rachel sat Catherine and Riley down and told them that she loves love and would keep them safe, I was like, great, Catherine marked safe for the week. I feel for Catherine because anytime she wanted to talk game, if she spent too much time away from Riley, he panicked, and she'd then have to spend hours trying to fix that. The events of the week lowered Catherine's threat level. We have sides going against each other. Riley went home, which is a knock on her game because that was her whole game. She could go on the block this week, but she now has the opportunity to play for herself. Let's see what she does with it. In 7th, I have Rachel, who last week was 10th. I said last week she was so likely to be nominated and needed to win a competition. Then she pulls out this much needed HOH win. She goes on to have a roller coaster of a week. She makes a deal with Riley and Catherine, telling them she loves love and they'll be safe. Mickey tries to campaign to her at the beginning of the week, and Mickey makes a compelling case, but Rachel still nominates Mickey, Morgan, and Vince, but doesn't consult her allies, though she'll smooth things over with them by Thursday. When Lauren wins the veto, Rachel doesn't think it's going to be used and has a whole standoff with Lauren. She tries to trick Lauren and bluff, threatening to nominate Riley, but Rachel doesn't want it used at all. When it's used, Rachel has to either nominate Riley or look like a punk, so Lauren got one over on Rachel in my opinion, and got the best of her there. So she nominates Riley and ultimately gets him evicted, which is a saving grace to her week. Somehow she smoothed things over as much as she could with Morgan, Mickey, and Vince, so she came into the week in a terrible place and ends the week with one big competitor out of her way, her allies still close, and a big move on her resume. In 6th, I have Ashley, who last week was 7th. Rachel winning HOH was great for Ashley. She's kept safe, and while some of her gameplay feels chaotic, she's trying to be friends with both Rachel and Mickey and play the peacemaker, which is a very angelic seeming thing to do. She says crazy stuff, which is sometimes rude, and then just laughs at herself or farts, or has toilet paper sticking out of her butt, which is accidentally funny and also accidentally disarming to the other players. Ashley's been clawing her way from the bottom since the start, and she only ends up moving up in my rankings because other people make mistakes and then drop down. I'd like to see her successfully do something. In fifth, I have Ava, who last week was third. This week, she was safe, and I still feel like she's in a great spot, still playing the middle, though she spends a lot of time in bed and is so inactive in the game that it's hard to continue to reward it. Toward the end of the week, she becomes very indecisive about her vote, which caused a bit of panic in the house, and the wishy-washiness is actually pretty sloppy play. When she made the baller move to target big players, she waived her right to play this lazily. If she doesn't get more active in the game, she could end up randomly plucked off at any given time. In fourth, I have Lauren, who was fifth last week, and I see a lot of what people see about Lauren. She's frustratingly indecisive and very boring. It doesn't take away from the fact that she's one of the few people in the house who actually watch the show and know what they're doing. She was the logical potential replacement nominee, and she went out there and beasted that OTEV competition. She did it on him, and won safety in a position where she could have been on the block. And while she took a long time to decide, she played the veto to save her only actual ally. She has friends, but Vince is the only person that she has a real alliance with in the game, and she did that even though Rachel was running a hard pressure campaign on her. She called Rachel's bluff, which forced Rachel's hand, but also proved that you can't push her around. The fans didn't like when she won the HOH and played it safe. They don't like when she won the veto and executed on it, even though she's making careful, thought out decisions. She was on the wrong side of the vote, which wasn't good, but it would look even worse if she voted Riley out after what happened. I don't think whoever will win the wall competition will have Lauren worried this week. In third, I'm putting Morgan, who last week was ninth, coming out of a week where she was about to be the replacement nominee, and there was growing sentiment that she was sketchy. She's quickly nominated by Rachel, and she's understanding of it. Morgan plays steadily throughout the week, campaigning for herself. I even think she made good points in her pitch to Lauren to save her with the veto, even though that was never going to happen. And she was pretty agreeable and pleasant throughout the week, enough to give her a fighting chance heading into the eviction vote, which ultimately she survived. So major props to Morgan for clocking back in, working hard, and getting it done. The wall comp, which he talks about nonstop, is about to happen, and chances are she or a friend of hers is about to win. In second, I have Will, who was fourth last week. He continues to be pleasant and well liked in the house. He's safe for the week and spends his time mostly getting closer to the people he's already close with. I could see him being a cool winner of the show, but with the disorganized group that he's in, I struggle to see a clear path for him to get to the end and win outside of just being well liked enough to avoid eviction after eviction, though I could also see that totally happening too, with so many people playing such a messy game. I have to reward Will for not doing that. And in first, I have Vince, who last week I had second. Rachel was a terrible HOH result for him. He's an obvious nominee, and he handles it well. Well, he does his usual whining and whimpering that doesn't work on us, but does work with the other house guests. He's able to talk very indecisive Lauren into making the big decision to save him, which I give him credit for. And he makes another alliance with Rachel, who nominated him, leading to him being the swing vote and choosing who goes home, and even going with Rachel's side of the house, which puts him squarely in the middle of two groups. The best spot in the game. Is putting a man as number one a curse? Will he be evicted this week? Unlikely, but I hope so. So those are my rankings for week 6. I'm sure they're different from yours. Let me know in the comments, what are your rankings? I read and respond to every single one. If you like this video, consider liking and subscribing. I'll be back on Sunday to recap the nominations episode. Until then, you know where to find me. Bye.